believe I was 15 when I wrote my first song, 15 or 16. And we had this little digital recorder, and I stayed up all night. This was the summertime. School was out. I stayed up all night and wrote a song and recorded it and put it on CD and left it at the bottom of the stairs for my parents to take, on their work commute. And they tell the story about, putting it in and listening and kind of discovering like who I actually was. They had heard me play before, but I was able, I think, to really, really express myself that way in writing, and also just having this kind of pure delivery of this song, which is called War of Light, is the first song I say that I wrote. And it was largely based on the Iraq War and wanting people to come home, loved ones to come home, and just wanting peace. And it was kind of equating the war, light and darkness. I was running down the road. I got inspired by running down the road, and the sun was going down. And I thought, there's only so much time before it's going to become dark, and you can't see my way. I didn't bring a flashlight or something. And I sort of had this thought that, to put that to the war and, try to find this comparison that's I called it War of Light because we're like constantly fighting to bring the light, I guess. I was a new writer, so but it kind of just all came out in one night. And like I said, I recorded it and gave it to my parents, and they loved it.
It was a song called the Ballad, let's see, Theodore's Lament and Clementine's Reply. I was in a poetry class poetry writing class at University of North Carolina with Carolyn Kaiser, who was an excellent poet. And she has a collection now. She's passed on now, but she was excellent and would really get after you too, to work hard at your revisions and so forth. And I appreciate having her as somebody to try things out on. And I had gotten the dulcimer, and I don't know if I can remember much of it at all, but it was like, oh, darling Clementine. I thought you were my, oh, darling Clementine. I thought you were mine. Your mouth was a prairie. Your tongue was divine. Clementine, Clementine, you swore you'd be true. But last Sunday morning, you found someone new. That's one. That's the opening verse. And then Clementine comes and she sings her. So it's a call and response. And it was real high, as you can see, which my voice really wasn't suited to that, but I did it anyway. And it was my first song. And yeah, on the dulcimer. I was surprised too. She was hard on me, but it was good to have people be hard on you, to write the right, to work harder on things, to make them much better than they were. Revision. She really believed in revision, and I was just off the top of my head. I thought it would be just fine, and that's not all. Sometimes it's great that way, but sometimes it's not. Now, when I got to know Dave Van Ronk, he would say that Bob Dylan never revised anything. It would be all the top of his head, but it was usually just fine the way he did it. But not all of us are that kind of genius. He admired the people like Phil Oakes and Tom Paxton, who would like really, really work hard and refine it and make it just right. Now, I remember when I took a lot of courses when I went to college. And I took one over at Duke. We had an exchange program with Reynolds Price, and that was very good too. So he thought you should think of the person that you wanted to hear it. Who are you writing for? He asked one day. And who's that secret person that you actually want to hear your works? And somebody in the class said, well, I'm writing for myself. And he snapped at me, said, oh, shut up. Who's that secret person that you write and you picture in your mind reading your works? He said, mine are my parents, or people like my parents. And I realized that mine was actually my brother, Mike, because he was younger, 2 years younger, and we were in the same room. Beds, we would jump from bed to bed, and play together, play football together. And so I was thinking that I wrote for my brother. And that was a good jumping off a moment. When I was studying Mark Twain, I admired many of his little essays. And one of the best ones, little sayings, he said, the difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between the dragon and the dragonfly. And the image of the dragon and the dragonfly was so immediate and so apparent. I thought that was very, very clever. So often as a songwriter, you can get almost the right word, but it's not good enough. You have to get the right word. And so once you get that, it becomes apparent to you, and you've worked hard to get it, or you've just sort of done it off the top of your head. Doesn't matter. The right word matters. So if you've gotten it by a lot of work, or just by done it by your own casual genius, then that's fine. But you've got to be able to recognize whether it's the right word or the almost right word. And that's something I've worked at.
The first time I remember writing a song was a suite. It was the Moon Landing Suite. So I was 12 years old when Americans landed, or people went to the moon. And I was so moved by that. I was playing the piano at the time, and I wrote what I called a suite. So it was 3 little songs together. I hadn't taken piano lessons or anything by that point. We just had a neighbor who just gave us a piano. And so that was the first time I wrote music. And it was so sweet when I think about it, because the moon landing was huge. And I kind of felt like there needed to be a soundtrack for the moon landing. So I wrote it. And just a little while ago, I was like, what was that? And I actually remember, I can play the whole thing. I mean, it's not that much, but I can play it on the piano, and I remember what I was trying to capture. I was trying to capture the tension of Houston prior to the launch, the takeoff itself, and then my big hit was Tranquility Base, where I tried to capture the serenity of Tranquility Base. So that was the first time I wrote a song for the moon landing. And then other songs, the reason I kind of got into writing songs, which was interesting, was because I started taking guitar lessons, and learning how to play music is difficult, and you always make mistakes. But if it's your music, you can never make a mistake, because it's like you're not copying anyone else. And so if it sounds wrong, nobody can tell you it's wrong, because it's your music. So I decided I was going to make up my own songs. I'd play them exactly how I wanted to play them, and they would change every time, but there was never going to be a right or wrong, because I wasn't copying anybody. So I started doing my own music in that way, and that kind of freed me up from trying to play things correctly. So I would just play things freely, and it also gave me a way to express feelings and emotions when things came up. I'd always, it would inspire a song of some sort.
Originally, I think what got me writing songs, well, first of all, I've always been a writer. I was working as a professional journalist. I was cranking out, stories, nonfiction. I worked for a big city daily newspaper, when I was 18 or 19, as a daily news reporter during my summers in college. And then I worked for Newsweek magazine as a bureau correspondent, a reporter in Atlanta and Washington for a couple summers. So I was always writing a lot. But writing songs was a different kind of art. In high school, I had started writing poetry. I actually had a couple poems published in our school literary magazine. and I'd started writing poetry. And I guess I just started thinking, well, what if you wrote a poem to music, you know? Well, of course, it's a little different, you know. It's not quite the same thing, but there is some similarity. You have to deal with meter and rhyme, and once you have the structure of a piece of music, then you can kind of write a poem to it. So what really got me going as a songwriter was that I'd be sitting around the house, and I might just come up with something different, like, you know. And I wrote one of the songs on that CD, In Every Dream, one of the very first songs I ever wrote. And another one was just based on this lick. I mean, I was an okay guitar player even then, you know. I could write and play a piece of music on the guitar. So adding words to it was a challenge at first. It was like, what do you do? But I realized that if I didn't write words, then I didn't have any way to play the music. So if I was going to be playing in some coffee house, and I was starting to try to get coffee house gigs by that time. So if I wanted to play in a coffee house and play that piece of music, I had to be able to sing something with it, or it wouldn't mean anything to anybody. So that's kind of when songs started coming. So this lick became, you know. Now every time I look into another pair of eyes, it all comes back that I'm living lies, comparing her to you. I've been to LA and just got bored with empty heads and liquor stores and the Walking Dead and lonely sunshine too. In every dream I see what could never be, and still I have you lying next to me. If I could be tonight, all right with you. Thousand miles I've roamed, and still I'm left with memories that tear the heart right out of me and leave my feelings blue. I move alone and can't stand to be with anyone who gets close to me, and that makes me sad, that makes me missing you. In every dream I see what could never be, and still I'd have you lying next to me. If I could be tonight, all right with you. With you, with you.
Darling, come back. I thought you were mine. Your mouth was a prairie, your tongue was divine.
Now every time I look into another pair of eyes, it all comes back that I'm living